Reagan vs. Clinton by Bethina Maraca. Reagan put emphasis on taxing labor. Decreasing the tax rate would give people incentives to work harder and make more money since you get taxed less. By lowering the income tax rate, you encourage people to work more and make more tax revenue. This is a graph showing how incentives matter. Personal income tax revenues declined from 9.4% GDP in 1981 to 8.3% GDP in 1989, while payroll tax revenues increased from 6% GDP to 6.7% GDP. The rate of growth of real GDP per capita averaged 3.05%. Reagan employed the Laffer curve. The Laffer curve is the relationship between rates of taxation and the hypothetical resulting levels of government revenue collected by governments. It also shows that tax rates increasing after a certain point would cause people not to work as hard or not at all, thereby reducing tax revenue. Eventually, if tax rates reached 100%, then people would choose not to work because everything they earned would go straight to the government. However, this does nothing for the upper class since they are salaried and not as elastic. Clinton focused more on taxing the upper class by increasing income tax rates since their salaries are already fixed, which produced more revenue. The primary determining factor would be the economy and the current health. The trick about taxing the wealth is moderation. If you tax them too much, then you are discouraging them. Since they play a role in job creation, if they give up, it affects labor as well. They get discouraged, lower the jobs they are creating, so it affects both the upper and the lower class of the spectrum. The primary focus should be the evaluation of the economic health. If the economy can support more jobs, then you can adapt taxes more accordingly. Both Reagan and Clinton had valid points. However, taxing either bracket is not beneficial. You cannot overly tax the upper class, but at the same time, taxation has to be equal. You need to take into consideration the job market, economic health, and the supply elasticity. I agree a little more with Clinton than I do with Reagan. Raising taxes would be more beneficial. I believe that if we had a tax bracket, it would make it easier. If we made a certain amount of money and we moved up or down the tax bracket, then the amount of money that we make should determine the amount of tax that we pay. Hourly work is when an employee is paid by the hour, meaning that their pay is calculated based on the amount of hours that they have worked. They are also usually eligible to receive pay for overtime. Salaried work is when an employee is paid annually rather than hourly, meaning they have a set pay for the year regardless of the hours that are put in. They are usually exempt from overtime pay. Principle number 3. Rational people think at the margin. Rational people systematically and purposely do the best they can to achieve their objectives, given the available opportunities. Marginal change is a small incremental adjustment to an existing plan of action. Rational people compare marginal benefits and marginal costs. For some people, a raise in the individual income tax rate will encourage them to work fewer hours. For others, it will take a very large increase in the income tax for them to stop working.